Okay, so that is Britain's new $5 note.
Pound.
Well, a note is just a form of currency, so it is a note. Or
You
not
said
the
dollar.
form. Oh, fuck.
It's not the note. Britain's
Sorry, guys.
£5 dollar note.
It's the £5 note. So that is what it is now. So it's brand new. Britain has just released this new currency. It feels different. It's a lot harder to tear. It's waterproof, or water resistant rather. And people are so upset about this new note, and that is because there is a trace of tallow in the polymer pellets, and it is used as the base polymer for the £5 notes. People are freaking out about this because tallow is the fat that surrounds the cow's organs and is often used in soaps and candles. And guess what? Vegans don't use soaps and candles or consume anything that comes from an animal like that. So guess what? They don't want to use this £5 bill. And so there has been a Twitter storm raging around this new note that has come out, and people don't know which direction they should go, and neither does the government. They're not sure if they should take this away completely, or if they should just push through, people get over it and use it anyways. But at the same time, you're kind of going against people's right to have their own perspective on things.
This is an interesting one. I can kind of see both sides of it. Like, I don't necessarily think, like, okay, so my personal opinion is that they shouldn't have used, if they can get away with it, they shouldn't have used an animal byproduct in the production of these
I think plastic could have easily
whatever they use,
sufficed.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, they are now in the situation where they have these notes, and if this is going to be how it is going forward, this is how it is. Now, the second point, and kind of the interesting thing here, is like, I don't unfortunately think it's the government's responsibility to cater to every group. Like, being vegan isn't your religion.
Yeah.
And
at the same time,
religion is protected.
Yeah.
But this almost falls more in like someone's personal beliefs.
Yeah.
You know?
And at the same time, guess what? Not everyone believes in God, but that's what it says on every currency that is produced by America. So
it's an interesting point.
I don't know
That's
if
an interesting point.
You can even make that differentiation. But a few of the tweets that people have sent out is that someone said, gives a whole new meaning to the term blood money, horrified to this discovery, absolutely appalling. And so I think that, I don't know, like, there are lots of ways you can get this tallow. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're killing the cow for each amount of money that is made. Most people aren't consuming the tallow. Even if they are, it's going to other things. So I'm not sure.
So this is like an animal byproduct, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
So when they slaughter an animal, they have this left over, and then they end up using it for other stuff.
And I'm sure Britain's government isn't really thinking that much about that in the first place. I'm sure there's just a distributor of tallow, and they receive it and then use it for their money, and then that's it. There's no really thought behind it, and I don't think they thought anything of it, because this is the first time they've actually had a note that is this far into the future. It's hard to copyright or counterfeit, and it's hard to destroy, and I think that was important for them, and they kind of pushed everything aside, and now they're getting a lot of backlash.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The counterfeit thing is obviously really important. In the United States, for example, in the 1990s, there was actually a really interesting period. Our bills have changed since then, but I mean, most people my age and older remember the old dollar bills and how they were. They were much more kind of fabric-y than the bills now that are a bit crisper. But the interesting thing about the bills before was 1990s, those bills coincided with the release of like the home inkjet desktop printer. And there was a period of about 5 to 7 years where an incredibly large amount of money in circulation, at least as a percentage of counterfeit money in circulation, was being created by these inkjet printers. So people were all thinking like, oh, I could just print some money at my house.
I would.
And this is all from like a podcast I was listening to about this.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people would do was like, they'd print it on their printer. And then the goal wasn't to spend the money necessarily. The goal was to pass it off and have someone make change and then spend the change. So people would like go into a crowded bar and like slap their fake 20 on the bar, and then they would make change, like, you know, maybe you order like one shot and then you get like $15 back and then you go and spend that. Because like no store, I mean, something printed with an inkjet printer is not going to look real, but
real enough.
Real enough. So obviously, like, we've come a long way since then. The new United States dollar bills are obviously pretty hard to counterfeit.
Yeah.
But these seem to be actually better than our bills.
Yeah. I know a lot of places over the world are changing their money in a lot of different ways to make it that much harder to counterfeit. And I think the U.S. is actually further behind than a lot of other companies or countries, because I've seen a lot of that money and I'm like, wow, this is a lot more intricate.
The international money?
Yeah. Intricate. Sure. The materials are much different. And this marks the end of 320 years that Britain has been using cotton in their money, so that completely ended that. So I don't know, it's a toss-up. I know that 5,000 people have already signed a petition on change.org saying that they need to stop this.
That's not that many people. That's good. No. That's not an impressive amount, unfortunately.
And I don't know, well, I guess we'll see if they actually have any plans to just kind of let it fizzle and die out. And like, what do you do? If you're vegan, you feel as strongly about this, you can't really avoid it.
Use a debit card.
Yeah, honestly, when's the last time we even touched a $5 bill? I don't even know.
I don't have any bills in my wallet right now.
No, and like I don't know when I'm going to touch bills again, because I don't see that in my future of ever needing to use that. Everything takes a card now, pretty much. So
unfortunately, I do not think that Britain's going to change their mind.
No. So much money has already gone into the production of these things.
Well, especially like, you know, once you mint a bill, like, it's kind of hard to go back.
Get it back.